Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on frequently asked questions, everything you need to know about cellular and satellite convergence. My name is Bronwyn. I'm a senior content manager at Emnify, and I will be your moderator today. So first of all, let me introduce you to Emnify and Skylo. Emnify is a leading hyperscale IoT service provider with a globally distributed cloud-native IoT connectivity platform. Our proprietary technology and in-house development efforts are based in Germany, the USA, and in Brazil. And it's through our partnership with Skylo that we enable customers worldwide to connect more devices in more places using the Emnify IoT Super Network. One thing to point out is that in February this year, Emnify announced our SAT Plus service at the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, which further enhances our ability to provide comprehensive connectivity solutions. There's been a lot of conversation and quite a few misconceptions around satellite connectivity, which is why we're here today. We want to provide clarity and insights into this evolving technology and its impact on your IoT projects. So during this session, we'll start with an introduction. We'll then move on to our FAQ session, where we'll address common questions around connectivity, hardware compatibility, use cases, pricing, and more. And after that, we'll move on to a live Q&A session where we will do our very best to answer the questions that you have for our experts. And speaking of experts, we have two with us today, and I'm pleased to introduce you to them. First up, we have Mike Barch, who's the lead product manager at Emnify. And then we also have Hugh Stevenson, who's the Director of Business Development at Skylo. And I'll hand over briefly for their introductions in a second. Throughout the webinar, you are very welcome to type your questions into the chat box. And as I said, we'll do our very best at the end to get to as many of those as possible. So without further ado, let me hand you over to Mike. Mike, the floor is yours.
Hello and welcome. My name is Mike Barch. I'm a lead product manager at Emnify. I'm responsible for satellite IoT and SIM management products and services. I have a long background in IoT, working for companies like Nokia in the UK, Telstra, the Australian Telecom, and Netcom in Australia. Welcome.
Hey, Mike, and this is Hugh Stevenson with Skylo, Director of Business Development. I've been in IoT for many years, including with Jasper Wireless, Twilio. I also worked in enterprise wireless with Good Technology, which was acquired by Motorola in the pre-iPhone days. So I've got a long perspective on this, and I'm so excited to be with Skylo, working on expanding coverage around the world.
Thank you both for those introductions. We're delighted to have you and your expertise with us today. So let's just dive straight into the questions. We've got some really strong ones to start with, and I'm pretty sure that we'll have more from our audience as we go along. So the first question I have is for both of you, and it's a frequent topic that comes up around misconceptions. Can you tell us, in your opinion, what common misconceptions exist around converged satellites and cellular IoT connectivity?
Well, one of the misconceptions is really that integrating satellite and cellular networks is complex, but not so with the Super Network SAT Plus, the service that we developed. Both can be managed, satellite and cellular, via a single SIM, single service plan, and a single platform.
Yeah, from the Skylo perspective, the message we give is, a standard cellular device. Now, this is a cellular device that will have the latest chipset and module that support NTN release 17, the 3GPP standard, but otherwise, standard cellular devices, no special antennas, no special battery, no extra power requirements, can essentially roam to NTN satellite from a cellular device.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that overview of the common misconceptions. So moving on now to another frequent question that we receive. It's relating to automated switching. Mike, can you explain how automated switching between cellular and satellite actually works?
Sure. As it stands today, switching between cellular and satellite is handled by the IoT device, by the firmware application, or the integrated radio module. The switching can be triggered by parameters such as cellular signal availability, geolocation, or time. And there are also other triggers possible.
Yeah, from the Scalar perspective, your application will look for radio access type. When it's NB-IoT for to transmitting over NTN satellite, you'll need to be in NB-IoT mode, and you can have a loop where that tells your application what type of data to be sending, specific to an NTN network versus a cellular network. You probably want to send less data over NTN.
Okay, thank you so much for explaining the automated switching process. It's reassuring to know how it works and how it's managed. Now, can you tell us if the SIM will automatically switch from cellular to satellite?
Now, the SIM itself does not switch automatically. The switching is really controlled by the customer's radio user equipment. As I said before, which includes the modem module or gateway device. It's not controlled by MNIFI.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for clarifying that. So the switching depends on the customer's equipment, right? Hugh, tell me, how much data can I send over satellite? And is there actually a limit on the message size?
So Skylo NTN network is not a streaming network. It's a narrowband network, and it's for packet messaging based communications. So the packet can be 50 bytes to 256 bytes, and you can send those up to 20 times a minute. And so I think when you do the math on that, it adds up to 5.12 kilobytes transferred per minute. But the idea is not for continuous communications; it's for bursty or signal type communications.
Perfect. Thanks for explaining that,
Mhm.
Hugh. That's really helpful to know. Okay, so can you tell us where satellite connectivity is actually currently available?
Sure. Well, customers can access the Scalo NTN, which provides at launch service coverage in the following countries: in the US, Canada, the UK, in Switzerland, the European Union, also in Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. And also to note is in the US, it's the CONUS, the contiguous countries, and it's in international waters surrounding the North American region. But you can probably tell us more about it, also about plans.
Yeah. So the Skylo network is we're developing it into a global network. Um, Currently, Mike mentioned the areas that we do cover. We also are very soon going to deploy in Brazil. We've got plans in South Asia, but around the corner is Brazil for this year, and so we will continue to grow. Our our coverage will be driven by device demand. If you have a big fleet of devices or multiple fleets of devices that you need to deploy, for example, in international waters and shipping lanes, we are looking for to be coin operated in terms of deploying coverage for opportunities.
I would like to add something to it because aside from Skylo, Amplify is going to onboard further satellite NTN service providers to make that experience even richer for our customers. Once we have another provider onboarded, customers can use the same satellite eSIMs that they may have already or that they're going to order and take advantage of this added coverage. Yeah. So we want to make sure that this is similar to cellular coverage that we offer today, that we have in one location, several satellite networks available, several cellular networks available, so that a customer has maximum redundancy if needed.
Seems
That's
reasonable.
brilliant. Thanks so Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much. It's pretty impressive how extensive the coverage is, and we definitely have lots to look forward to in that space. Hugh, tell me, what is the latency of a satellite message?
So Skylo's network currently is using geo satellites, which are 36,000 kilometers up in space. So there is a latency 5 to 15 seconds typically per transmission. So not a super real time, but a live based communication service.
We also
Right,
made
Chip?
a lot of measurements here in Berlin, and we found latency between 10 to 15 seconds. But I also have to say that latency may vary based on the device location and so many other conditions. But that's we align here with our measurements, right?
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, thanks for that. And another question that we have is, and this one's for you, Mike. Can you tell us if Amplify supports NIDD?
NIDD or NIT, yeah, it stands for non-IP data delivery, and MDFI does not support it. We support IP data delivery, and specifically for satellite, for Skylo, IPv4.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So over Skylo with NB-IoT protocol, you will need to use UDP for low overhead data delivery. We're not supporting TCP/IP, but so UDP will work.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for clarifying that. And I was actually going to ask about the TCP and UDP, so you've cleared that up already. So let's move on to the next question, which is actually moving now from connectivity to hardware. So what is the planned hardware? Sorry, which of the planned hardware for 2024 is compliant with both Skylo and SAT Plus?
We at MDFI, we identified several vendors that have devices available, that have radio modules available at the moment in samples, soon in for order. That's Murata, Simcom, Quectel, Fibocom, Telit Centurion, and Sierra Wireless. They all will be theoretically compatible with NTN adhering to 3GPP release 17. But for access to Scala, they will have to obtain a specific certification. And that's something that you can tell us more about.
Yeah, like cellular networks, the Skylo NTN network, we need to certify devices to make sure they're going to be reasonable actors on our network. We have a list on our website of devices that are already certified or in the process of being certified. And that goes from the chipsets to the modules to the end devices. We do have a lot of chipsets now that are certified and ready to go. And these are standard cellular chipsets using the same cellular radios. But because Skylo uses the NTN network over the L and S bands of satellite, and that's another difference of Skylo versus traditional satellite, we're using the L and S bands. The same radios that work for cellular can work for the Skylo NTN network. So yeah, we've got lots of chipsets, and then based on those chipsets are modules that we have certified, and then we will certify the actual device for the antenna, TRS, TIP, to make sure that everything is working as planned.
And we
Sounds
just
good.
posted
Thanks for
a
that.
link. We just posted
Awesome.
a link to the data sheet, and the data sheet on our website gives you the exact models that we identified when we know these will be the models that can support the service. And we have been testing with a selection of those models already.
Perfect. Thanks so much for clearing that up around the hardware compliance. And yes, absolutely, have a look at that data sheet. It will give you a lot of detailed information around that, which will help you in your journey. Tell me, Mike, can existing NB IoT devices be used with SAT Plus?
Well, theoretically, but you need to speak to your device vendor. Some vendors may provide a firmware update that enables then NB-IoT over satellite end-to-end, NTN, in addition to cellular connectivity. But this is really something that your vendor can guide you through. Hugh, you have.
Yeah, I was going to say theoretically, existing chipsets, modules, and devices can be firmware upgraded to work over Skylo NTN. It practically, chipset vendors, rather than doing firmware upgrades, they want to sell new chipsets. They want to sell new modules. So we're looking at an equipment refresh on the chipset module to make sure that everything is up to date. And again, these are a 3GPP standard for NTN, release 17 compatible.
Right. Thanks for that. Okay. And Hugh, do I have to certify my device? And if I do, how do I certify my device?
So Skylo does certify chipsets, modules, devices. We have an in-house team that works with chipsets and modules. We have third parties, multiple third parties that have our standards, that have our test cases, that are ready to work with folks to make sure that we don't have any backlog. We get people quickly and efficiently certified and ready to go on the device. One precursor to certifying on Skylo NTN, of course, is PTCRB, standard cellular certification. But we're looking at cellular devices again, no special antennas, etc.
Right. Okay. Thanks for clearing that up. Okay. And on the topic of antenna, Mike, what sort of antenna is required for using the SAT+ service?
Well, in our tests, we use standard gain antennas that were provided by Murata and Quectel, which came with their module evaluation kit. These antennas were able to connect and can connect to both cellular networks and to Skylo's satellite service, and were able to enable to transfer data as well. However, Skylo recommends antennas with a higher gain, between 3 and 5 dBi, for better performance.
We have a device conformance document that talks about TIS, TRP requirements for radiating and receiving transmissions to the device. Happy to share that through Mike to anybody who's interested. We do have 2 tiers of devices, smartphones and IoT devices. IoT devices typically want to see better throughput. Smartphones can get away with less sensitivity.
That makes sense. That's good to know about the antenna requirements. Thank you. And tell me, do my IoT devices need to have a clear line of sight to the sky to connect to SAT+?
Yes, for satellite connections, the device antenna needs to be outdoors with a clear line of sight to the sky to connect to satellites.
We find that you don't need to be pointing a device when you're outside with a partial view of the sky horizon. So it's a natural experience. But yes, it is satellite communications. You do want to be able to connect to the satellite.
Of course, absolutely. That makes complete sense. Okay. So, Mike, what SIM type does one need for SAT+? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for SAT+, we launched a specific SAT+ SIM portfolio. And at launch, we have 2 types of SIM available. We have a triple cut SIM card available with 2FF, 3FF, 4FF cut. And we have an MFF2 industrial SIM chip for specific needs. Both of them are specifically designed for SAT+ hybrid access service. The existing IoT eSIMs or SIMs are not suitable for the SAT+ IoT service. And one thing to mention, the 2 new SAT+ SIM cards are eSIMs. That means that they are upgradable easily later on.
No vendor, no network lock-in.
That's a good piece of information for people to keep in mind. Okay, so Mike and Hugh, does SAT+ support power saving mode?
Yes, Skylo NTN supports PSM for power saving mode and EDRX for sleep mode.
I think that's a very powerful differentiating feature. Hearing how much power is consumed by other satellite devices and satellite modules. What we do from MNIFI side, we have on our website a tracker, or there's a way that you can check if PSM and EDRX are available in a specific network. We track this periodically and refresh it on the website. There's a link we can provide.
I'll just also chime in to say that Skylo is designed for power efficiency. We have the best link margin in the industry for this type of communication, so equivalent to cellular for data transmission.
Perfect. Thanks for that insight. Okay, so let's take the conversation away from hardware now and into real life use cases. Mike, can you tell us what SatPlus is and who it isn't for? And perhaps you can provide us with some example use cases in your explanation.
SatPlus service is really for enterprises and businesses that want to connect or provide backup for business critical solutions, or they want to track high value assets. Solutions or assets which are either placed permanently or temporarily outside of cellular network reach. Such could be stationary use cases or mobile IoT use cases, some that can be found in many industries such as agriculture, constructions, mining, oil and gas, utilities, or science. Applications could include livestock and wildlife tracking, asset tracking, condition monitoring, and talking about science and climate change, environmental sensing. That's a very important area here. We see a lot of demand. And then remote operations management, SCADA. These are the areas where we see a lot of requests coming in. But of course, there's probably much more.
On the Skylo side, high value assets that have to stay connected, that you want to roam, especially when you want to roam from cellular to NTN and then back to cellular seamlessly. Perfect use case for us.
I mean, it's a pretty extensive list of use cases, and a lot of different use cases that can clearly benefit from the service. So thanks so much for that. Hugh, tell me, what data throughput does SatPlus allow via satellite NTN?
Yeah, I think we mentioned earlier, we do the messaging-based, packet-based service, 50 to 256 bytes per packet. I think 0.683 kilobits per second if you want to do the streaming rate, but it's not a streaming service. It's a low throughput narrowband service, and for mission critical high value bursty communications.
Great. Thank you for that.
Let me add something to it. In terms of economical viability, the satellite service would probably be most suitable for use cases where you have 5 to 10 transmissions per day, with up to 80 kilobytes per month satellite data that's being consumed. But of course, it all depends on the individual business case. We can provide higher satellite data plans of up to 500 kilobytes per month or even higher if requested and viable. But we really see that this is this bracket of 80 kilobytes to 100 kilobytes. I think it's most viable for customers.
Thanks for that, both. And I'm actually going to move us on to our last question from our FAQs list. So I'm just saying to the audience, you're very welcome to submit any questions that you have. We do have time to get to them, so feel free to add them to the question box. But for now, let's answer our last question of the day. and that revolves around the data plans that are available for SAT Plus. So Mike, perhaps you can speak a little bit about that for us.
MNIFY promotes 3 SAT Plus data plans. And these data plans combine cellular connectivity and satellite connectivity, satellite messages. The plans start at 10 megabyte with 10 satellite messages, then 10 megabyte with 30 satellite messages, and up to 60 satellite messages. You can review this on the website, and we're going to post a link about this. For any excess usage, we will that's allowed, and we will charge for this overage. This will give you a good idea where to start, and we have more data plans available on request. Just reach out to our sales teams and we can start a conversation.
In the United States, the classic used car sales question is, what are you looking to spend today? If you want to spend more spend more data, by all means.
That's fair enough. Okie dokie. Thank you so much for that. Okay, well, that brings our FAQs to a close. Thank you so much both for your expertise and insight there. That was a really, really valuable session. I will just say we haven't actually received any questions yet, so we must have provided very, very comprehensive answers and been able to satisfy everyone's needs from that perspective. So I guess what we'll do as a next step is actually just bring the webinar to a close. So to briefly recap, we have covered quite a lot of ground today, from the fundamentals of cellular and satellite convergence to the specifics of data limits, coverage areas, costs, and much more. I sincerely hope that this session has provided you with some valuable insights and a clearer understanding of how these technologies can benefit your IoT projects. Sorry, I've just received notification that there are actually questions available, but unfortunately I cannot see them. 1 second, let me just try and access them for us. I would hate to close the webinar without answering everyone's questions. 1 second. Just bear with me, please. Mike or Hugh, are you able to see the questions on where you're sitting? Because I am not, unfortunately.
Where would I look for those?
Just in the question box, which is currently empty.
Yeah, I have the first question here. Can I manage both connectivity types through the same portal? And maybe I start answering that. Yes, that's what we have been building. We've been building capabilities whereby not only you can control and manage your cellular connectivity, but also satellite connectivity, and you can basically count, you can see the usage separately, you can assign a usage limit to it that really limits your usage in case your device is not functioning properly, your prototype. There are separate reports for it. You can create service policies that allow satellite or block satellite separate, so you can individually really provision your devices based on your demand. I'm very proud to say that we developed this in a very short amount of time, and it's available to our evaluation customers for a test drive, because we want to make sure that you have the best possible user experience. We know that satellite is something very new to cellular customers, and it's very important that you are completely aware of how to manage your connectivity, and you can also protect yourself against loss.
And from the Skylar side, so we are essentially a roaming partner, another roaming partner to MNIFY. You manage your SIMs through your connectivity management portal through MNIFY, and your one bill through MNIFY.
Right. Okay, thanks for that. And I can see the rest of the questions now. Sorry, Mike, did you have something else to add to that before we move on to the next one?
You see the next questions, yes? Okay. No, I have
I
nothing
do.
to add. Okay, great.
I still don't.
Okay, you don't. That's okay. I'll read them out. So
Okay.
we've got it covered. Okay, so the next question that we have is, do I need two SIMs for cellular and satellite? Mike, would you like to answer this one?
It is just one SIM. And there's one SIM that gives you access to both worlds. I always say the best of both worlds. Yeah, you can
That's a
use
nice
it.
way of putting it.
Yeah, it's a hybrid SIM for a hybrid radio module.
Perfect. Thank you. Short and sweet and to the point. Alrighty. So we have another question that's come in, and that is, how can I evaluate the satellite solution?
Yeah, we have an evaluation offer at the moment. We ask customers to go to our website. There's a feedback form, and just reach out via the website for evaluation, or just contact their account manager. Um, we will have soon. We will have an offer within the portal. That means customers that sign up for a free trial can, within the portal, then order a free satellite evaluation sim. That should be available in the next month. But for now, please just send us a message via the form, reach out to the sales team, and we're happy to support you.
Mike, you mentioned Murata, Quectel have some of the development boards for people to plug in the sims into and work with.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. All right, we have another question that's come through, and that is, do Skylo plan to offer end-to-end service relying on LEO satellites to complement the existing GEO satellites, satellite-based service coverage and performance?
I would say potentially in future, that is a different usage profile, for people looking for more bandwidth or more streaming type service. And that is something we are technically capable of doing. For now, with the way the regulations work and spectrum allocation, et cetera, we were able to make GEO work. We have a working network that's commercially available today, and it serves a very real need of, the holy grail of coverage. So satellite coverage, cellular devices, yes, it's narrowband, yes, it's low throughput, there is some latency, but it works.
That's fair
There,
enough, as long as
things.
it works. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, and we have another question, and that is the service already available? And are there test SIM cards available?
Yes and
Absolutely.
yes. You go, Mike.
It's not only test SIM cards, it's actually the commercial SIM cards are available. We're able to deliver the triple SIM card, the SIM card, and also MFF2 SIM chips. We have more than 20 customers that are testing at the moment. We also have partners, OEM partners, that are testing. So we're very confident to deliver you an offer to evaluate. Please reach out to us.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Mike. Okie dokie. I think that draws our audience questions to a close. I don't see any others coming through the chat box. Oh wait, one has just come through. So we have another. Let's read it and see what
But there's
they
more.
would like to know. Yes, there's more, exactly. Even more coming through. Okay, here we go. If I integrate a certified module in my device, do I also have to certify my device?
Yes, there is a three-stage certification of the chipset, the module, and the device to make sure that it's not going to, say, do a million retries and bring down the network or something.
That makes sense. Alrighty. Oh, go on.
And
Sorry, Hugh.
and to
Carry
make
on.
sure that, for example, we talked about antenna, in terms of TIS, TRP, being able to receive and transmit, make sure that the module and chipset, the filters for the antennas have been removed such that the frequencies for L and S bands, as well as the cellular frequencies in that same 1 to 4 gigahertz radio are able to be transmitted. But I won't say it's perfunctory, but if you got a chipset and a module ready to go, then it's a quick process to certify the device.
Sounds good. Okay, I think the next question is actually for you, Mike. I know we've touched on this briefly, but it's always good to drive it home. How do I become an MNIFY evaluation customer? What are the steps involved there?
As I mentioned it before, please reach out to the sales team, ask for an evaluation offer. On the other hand, the easiest way is go onto our website, fill out the feedback form, and it goes directly to our sales team, and we'll get back in touch with you, and we're going to make sure that we start this conversation.
Sounds good. The evaluation form is on the SAT Plus landing page. You'll find it right towards the bottom, and it's a quick and easy fill. So feel free to fill that out, and one of our team will get back to you straight away to start that discussion. Alrighty. When will the service be available in South America?
I mentioned we have plans to deploy Brazil by the end of the year. Other areas of coverage, we're open to deploying them. We just need, huge numbers of devices to drive it. We're opportunity driven for coverage. Please talk to Mike.
That makes sense. Okie dokie. I'm just having a look again to make sure that no last questions come through, because I'd hate for us to not answer any burning questions that our audience have on their mind. Let's just give it a second to make sure that everything is answered, and it looks like it is. So I'm going to try closing the webinar for a second time, and I just wanted to I wanted to thank both of you for taking the time today to share your insights and expertise. And of course, a special thanks to our audience for watching our webinar, and of course for submitting those really excellent questions. We hope we've done our best to answer everything, but if you do have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us directly. We will put both Mike and Hugh's email addresses into the chat, so you can get in touch with them. Otherwise, equally feel free to head on over to the MNIFY website and look up the SAT Plus service, and there will be a lot of very useful information available for you there. There will be a recording of the webinar available, and that will be sent directly to you within the next couple of days. So if you feel the need to watch it again, it's ready and available for you. Okay, so once again, thank you both for joining us, and thanks again to our audience for joining us. It's been a really insightful session, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thank you, Bronwyn and Mike. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.